Who hasn't imagined themselves embarking on an adventure of epic proportion? This is what most entertainment centers around, after all. From movies to video games, many of our favorite stories involve the protagonist venturing far away from home, on a journey whose end is punctuated by good overcoming evil. Video games have become increasingly sophisticated, with open worlds that allow a player to venture off in any direction and happen upon some quest. By simply turning away from the starting point, there are all varieties of characters you can meet, things you can do, and lives you can live. But of course, video games are tailored to the player, and real life doesn't work that way. Right? Well, we imagine extrapolations of reality. That is to say, we can't imagine anything that doesn't have some basis in our universe. We can't imagine something absolutely unlike anything we've ever seen. We imagine alterations to what we've been exposed to. So imagined video games have some basis in fact. And in fact, you can just wander off in some direction, and things will begin to happen. But if you want to experience a good story and not die right out of the gate, you have to know how to play the game. Many of us are stuck playing one role in this massively open world. We learn the rules for that role and rarely venture into other quest lines. We become masters of a skill or two and wait for the game to end. It's comfortable, but if we don't seek out other quests, we'll never find or finish the main mission, the central story to this whole game. The game we're situated within has presented several quests with obstacles to their completion. What are we? Why are we here? And how do we stop suffering? Death, discomfort, and selfishness loom all the while, posed as obstacles to the path. If any video game is hard to get into, it's easy to throw down the controller on this one. To play is to risk it all. But if you want to play, don't listen to the players stuck in a single quest. Let me tell you about the rules. The first thing you have to do is familiarize yourself with the controls. This is where most people remain stuck. How can you expect to get anywhere if you don't know how to use the player character? The only control you truly exercise is over yourself. If you could simply win by desiring that your enemies didn't engage you in the first place, or that obstacles weren't present on the path, what would be the point of playing? You can never expect control over your environment. You can control yourself, so learn how. Attention is the starting point for all self-control. If you can direct attention, you can direct thought. And if you can direct thought, you can direct reaction. Proper reaction leads to proper interaction with the world. You can remain calm under pressure, determined within distractions, and loving amidst hatred. Similarly, if you wish to maintain determination, you must realize the story's antagonist is not some external gun-toting alien. It is internal to the player character. Desire. Desire drags us along in life, spending our time and resources on things which don't eventuate in our happiness. Desire can be used to achieve meaningful change, or even better ourselves. But we can't learn to distinguish desires until desire has been fully conquered and displaced by love, with reason guiding our decision-making. Only then can desire be used as a tool for motivation. But how do we replace selfish desire with love? This is where practice and playing come in. Our character levels up in the skills we play with most. This isn't just a video game reference. We find this in the schools of behaviorist psychology, cognitive psychology, and neuroscience. Our brains become more empathetic through the development of synapses, which form through exposure and habituation. So we must learn to direct attention, to learn how to play, so we can play in a way that builds the skills necessary to begin work on the main mission. The metaphor's clearly gone too far at this point, but I'm not done milking it for all it's worth. The only real tools you have at your disposal are attention, detachment, and love. Once you can configure desire, removing unnecessary attachment will get you closer to fulfilling your main quest. For example, the question of what we are is more easily answered if you aren't attached to an identity or idea of what you are. To be attached to such a thing is innate bias, and bias impedes understanding. To let go of all preconceptions and observe with open eyes will get us closer to truth than conditioning ever can. Death is the number one obstacle to experience. If the game ends, then the experience stops. So why risk stopping the experience? Well, many things are only experienced when that risk is taken. And perhaps death wouldn't be so dreadful if we learned the controls better. Much like a game, as you look more closely, you begin to realize this one image we see the world and ourselves in is made up of many component parts. We see an avatar and an environment, but really it's code and polygons. We see a person and a universe, but really it's component parts again. Let me explain. Let's say we see a vehicle. Is that vehicle really a singular entity? It moves as one, but really it's made up of a bunch of individual parts which could be removed, altered, or substituted with other parts, either killing or without killing the vehicle. We see one unit, but a car is really only a concept. A car is a bunch of different stuff that works together. Similarly, we see ourselves as one person. But if we knew exactly what we were doing, we could remove the portions of our brain which contain all our long-term memories, yet still function as a person. People with amnesia experience this. We could remove the part of our brain responsible for certain emotions, in the same way some psychopaths are born. We could go in and cut out proprioception or self-referential thinking, or our sense of time. And we could go on down the list until all we're left with is the sensation of existence itself. So at what point are you no longer you? The real answer is that, like the video game, and like the car, you are a culmination of variable systems and processes. Like the video game and like the car, you are a concept, an idea. You are perceived, but untouchable, and in that way you are both real and unreal. And with the understanding that you can alter the various systems and processes which make up you, you can find a much more boundless existence, and explore the game fully. But here's the important takeaway for the main mission. For someone who's learned the controls and reached that complete dissolution of self, down at the very bottom of it all, the only thing left remaining is love. It's somehow nested within the sensation of being itself. When you disappear, it's what's left. It might be all there ever really was, and I'm not sure why, but I think it's the key to beating the game.